Yes, it is extracellular deposition of proteinaceous fibrillar material. Okay. So this term is used for a group of diseases characterized by extracellular deposition of fibrillar proteinaceous substance. Okay. Now yesterday we discussed about the type of amyloid, that is SAA, serum amyloid associated protein. It is highly density lipoprotein and the levels of which increases whenever there is chronic tissue destruction or long standing tissue destruction. Okay, like rheumatoid arthritis, like tuberculosis, leprosy, osteomyelitis, polynephritis, okay, or bronchiectasis. All these conditions, they are which shows long standing tissue destruction. Hello, हाँ बोलो. अरे अरे मैंने अभी भेजा है, सब लोग आ रहे हैं मीटिंग में. अरे कल की मीटिंग में ये करो ना, वो रिकरिंग मीटिंग है ना कल. हाँ वो वही करके देखो. So there are three types of this amyloid. SAA, that is serum amyloid associated protein. Okay. Then AL, that is amyloid light chain protein. In this, fibril consists of 7,500 up to 23,000. 1 minute. Okay. 23, it is made up of polypeptides, that is 7,500 to 23,000. Okay, which is made from the immunoglobulin light chains, that is lambda and kappa chains. Then amyloid associated protein. Here the fibrillar protein, it consists of polypeptide, that is 9,500 and having 76 amino acids which derived from the precursor protein, that is serum amyloid associated protein. Okay. Okay. Then we discussed about the structure of amyloid. These are the characteristics of amyloid. That is, it is extracellular, homogeneous, structureless, and eosinophilic hyaline material. Okay. This amyloid, it has extracellular, it is homogeneous, and structureless eosinophilic hyaline material. The diagrammatic representation, it is cross B-plated protein. The 90% of it is made from the fibrillar protein, and 10% it is made from the P component, that is called as pentagonal shaped glycoproteins. Okay. The fibril diameter of fibril is 7.5 to 10 nanometer, and the diameter of protofill, that is each this filament of fibril, this white filament of fibril, it composed of the protophils. Okay, so it is made from the protophils, and the diameter of each protophil is 2.5 to 3.5 nanometer. So this is the structure of amyloid protein. Okay, it is cross B-plated protein. Here it is given that it is generally unbranched, and the fibril, they are wavy with wavy filaments, rod shape, and the diameter, it is ranging from 5 to 25 nanometer. Okay, so it may be larger than this. Maybe. Yes. Yes, any query? So the structure of amyloid we discussed yesterday. Then we discussed about the pathogenesis of amyloidosis. Okay, in correlation with the steps. That is, first step is stimulation for this amyloid precursor protein. Then the second step, there is increase in amount of soluble precursor protein due to the stimulus. Then nucleation for fibrillogenesis, partial degeneration, and that is partial degeneration is nothing but the proteolysis, And lastly, insoluble precursor protein get formed. Okay, that we discussed yesterday. Now, next we discussed about the classification of amyloidosis. So amyloid, it is classified into systemic amyloidosis and localized amyloidosis. Systemic, it is generalized primary amyloidosis. It often involves the connective tissue above diaphragm. Okay. Any other more characteristics of this particular amyloid, primary amyloidosis? Yes. Which are the organs get affected with this generalized primary amyloidosis? The organs above diaphragm. Okay. The connective tissues above diaphragm. Yes.
Yes.
So what are the organs? Name of the organs?
Organs, tongue,
Yes.
nasal septum,
Nasal septum.
trachea,
Yes.
larynx, bronchial
Yes.
infection,
And on skin.
pancreasal septum, skin, alimentary
Yes. Yes.
canal,
Yes. Whether
heart,
whether it is observed
etc.
in the liver, spleen, this generalized primary amyloidosis.
No.
Yes. So it is. It never observed and less oftenly
It's
observed in
secondary.
the abdominal organs. Okay. So, and which type of amyloid get deposited in this first type? AL or AA?
A-L.
Is AL amyloid. AL
A-L.
amyloid get deposited in this primary amyloidosis, generalized primary amyloidosis. The second is secondary amyloidosis. In this
AA
fibrillar
type.
protein contain AA amyloid. Okay, it occurs as a complication of chronic.
AL type.
Yes,
Chronic inflammatory and tissue destructive.
yes, chronic infections or non-infectious
Or
inflammatory
non-infectious
conditions.
inflammatory
Okay,
conditions.
so then next is hemodialysis associated amyloidosis. In this, it happens in the long, where there is long term, the patients, they are on the dialysis
Dialysis.
due to renal failure, and in that case this amyloid get deposited. Okay, so these deposits, they are in the kidney as well as in the synovium, then joints, tendons and
Joint.
sheath. Okay, tendon sheaths. So synovial membrane, synovium, joints, tendon sheaths, where this amyloid get deposited. Okay, whenever this amyloidosis occurs with the kidney. Okay, then the fourth part that we discussed yesterday is hereditofamilial amyloidosis. Okay, so what is someone was asking me yesterday? Yes, yes. Any query about this fourth one, hereditofamilial amyloidosis? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ बोलो क्या query है? Is there is any query about this type? Because this type get divided into two, that is familial Mediterranean fever and hereditary polyneuropathic amyloidosis. Okay, these two parts are there included in this fourth one. Is there is any query? Yes. What are the characteristics of this Mediterranean fever, where it is observed commonly? And what are the symptoms?
In pleura.
In pleura. You mean to say pleura? That is, yes?
In Mediterranean area like Ahmadiyya and Jewish people.
Yes, Armadian, Jewish, Arabian peoples, it is observed. But what is that particular amyloidosis? What is the condition? What are the symptoms? And where it
Fever.
get observed? Yes? I explained it to you all.
Cause is unknown and character.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
familial medical.
Yes.
Na?
Familial Mediterranean. It is a febrile condition of unknown cause.
Febrile. Yes,
Yes.
which
Where
is
this amyloid
characterized
get
by
deposited. Yes. What are the regions where it get deposited? Yes. It is accompanied by the inflammation of the serosal surface. Okay. Including
yes,
peritoneum,
pleura and peritoneum,
synovial membrane.
synovial,
Yes. And this up here the which type of amyloid get deposited? AA or AL?
AA type.
AA type of, yes, right. AA type of amyloid get deposited. So
Deposited.
this forms of amyloidosis, it is related to the recurrent bouts of inflammation. There is recurrent bouts of inflammation, which is where this amyloid get deposited in the serosal surface. Okay. Now the second type we are discussing, that is hereditary polyneuropathic amyloidosis. Here amyloid get deposited in the peripheral or autonomic
Peripheral
nervous system.
nerves.
Okay, in the peripheral or autonomous nervous system, resulting muscular weakness, pain and paresthesia. Okay, so it gives rise to, what is meaning of paresthesia? Yes.
Loss of
Yes, loss of
sensation.
sensations, muscular weakness, pains, and paresthesia. These are the three major
Paresthesia.
symptoms related with this hereditary polyneuropathic amyloidosis. This hereditary means it get carry forward from one generation to other. Okay, the hereditary predisposition is marked in this particular type of amyloidosis. Hereditofamilial, that's why we call it as hereditofamilial amyloidosis. Okay, so is that clear? If there is any query? Yes, is there is any query about this type of amyloidosis? So here this amyloid get deposited abnormally. Amyloid is something which get deposited in the cells extracellularly, and which affects the metabolism of that particular organ. Okay, so amyloidosis or amyloid deposition, it is always abnormal and always get followed with the long-term tissue destruction. Okay, so this is all about the classification, that is systemic amyloidosis. This is the classification of systemic amyloidosis. The second one is, now next classification is about this localized type. Localized amyloidosis. It get divided into senile cardiac, senile cerebral, and endocrine associated amyloidosis. Okay. So senile cardiac, the age, as the word itself is saying, that it is senile. That means it always observed in the old age. Okay, senile cardiac, age is above 70 years, and the deposits are in the heart and aorta. The second, that is senile cerebral. Again, the age group is same, that is above 70 years, and in this senile cerebral amyloidosis, of course it is localized, that is it is always restricted to that particular organ. If it is cardiac, then it is restricted up to the cardiac region, that is in the aorta of the heart or any chambers of the heart. Okay, endocardium or myocardium, in that particular muscular layer, this amyloid get deposited. Then senile cerebral, that is above 70 years, the deposits in the wall of cerebral blood vessels. Third is endocrine associated amyloidosis. So some endocrinal tumors are associated with these deposits. Okay, some cerebral tumors or endocrine, sorry, not cerebral, it is endocrine tumors, they are associated with the deposits. Examples, medullary carcinoma of thyroid. or the tumors of pancreas, or the tumorous growth related with the fallopian tubes, tumors of ovary. So these are the examples of this endocrines associated amyloidosis. Some endocrinal tumors, they are associated with the deposits. Okay. Now the next part we are going to discuss is formation of amyloid. How the amyloid get forms. The plasma cells, in case of hypergammaglobulinemia, the plasma cells, always it get initiated by the plasma cells. Okay. Because why these plasma cells get activated? What is the reason? Yes, students from winter batch. What is the reason of plasma cells appears or take part in this sort of reaction, amyloidosis? Yes, why plasma cells take part? Yes, what is the reason why plasma cell they initiates the process? What is the reason? Yes. When these plasma cells get activated, what is the reason of this activation of plasma cells? Yes. Why these plasma cells they get activated? Yes. So whenever there is inflammation or whenever any foreign organism enters in your system, or in case of inflammation, inflammatory conditions, these plasma cells they activates, and they either produces, yes, they activates the immunoglobulins to take part in this reaction. Okay, these immunoglobulins they get activated due to the plasma cells. So these plasma cells, whenever there is any inflammation, inflammatory condition, or whenever there is any immunological condition, that is entry of antigen, so these plasma cells they get activated. So in this formation of amyloid, when these plasma cells they get activated in case of hypergammaglobulinemia, whenever there is hypergammaglobulinemia, these plasma cells they secretes or they stimulates the formation of glycoproteins. So these glycoproteins they combine with acid mucopolysaccharide in the which is present in the basement membrane of the capillary endothelium. These glycoproteins they get combined with acid mucopolysaccharide which is present in the basement membrane of capillary endothelium, and there is formation of amyloid precipitates or precipitations. Amyloid precipitations get formed due to this combination glycoprotein and acid mucopolysaccharide. Okay. So this is the formation of amyloid. That this is how this amyloid get formed. Maybe the condition varies. Maybe the stimulants they are varies. Okay, whether in some conditions there is chronic inflammatory conditions, they are the stimulus for this formation of glycoprotein, or in some conditions there is cancerous conditions like multiple myeloma, B cell lymphoma, or cancer. Okay. So this is how the amyloid get formed. Okay. Now the next part today we are going to discuss is the individual amyloidosis. Here you can see the slide, that is there is amyloidosis of kidney. Okay, amyloidosis of kidney. So here you can see the glomerular deposits, that is amyloid get deposited in the glomerular deposits in the interstitial vessels. Here you can see around the vessels, then amyloid casts they are get deposited in the tubules. Okay. So here are the deposits of amyloid. This is the picture and this is the microscopic picture. Okay. So you can see the deposits of amyloid in the glomerulus, deposits in the interstitial vessels. Okay, here there are protein casts are present. The amyloid deposits are seen mainly in the glomerular capillary tube. The deposits are also present in the peritubular connective tissues, producing atrophic tubules and amyloid casts in the tubular lamina and in the arterial wall, producing luminal narrowing. There is luminal narrowing get developed due to this deposition of amyloid in the arterial wall. Okay. So it is the most common and potentially the most serious form of organ involvement. Whenever the kidneys get involved, it is always it happens in the most serious conditions when the kidney get involved. Okay. Now the kidney may appear normal in size or it may get enlarges. So the kidney is either normal in size or it may get enlarged. In advanced cases, it may be structureless. Okay, it may be the structure of the kidney, it may get reduced, that is it may appear shrunken or contracted due to the vascular narrowing. Due to the here we can see the luminal narrowing. Okay, the tubular lamina is get disturbed, it may get narrowed, as well as the vessels. These vessels, whenever this deposited in the interstitial vessels, you can see the narrowing of the vessels due to deposition of amyloid in the wall of artery. Okay, so here this vascular narrowing occurs and it get induced by the deposition of amyloid within the artery or arterial wall. So the blood supply reduces and that is why the kidney size get reduces. It may become shrunken. It may become contracted, okay, in advanced cases. But priorly, in the primary stage, it may be normal size or it may get enlarged. Okay. Now, histologically, the amyloid is deposited primarily in the glomeruli, but the interstitial peritubular tissues, arteries, arterioles may get involved. Okay. So the amyloid deposition here, you can see there is glomerular deposits. Amyloid is deposited primarily in the glomeruli, but this amyloid we can see in other parts like interstitial peritibial tissues, then peritubular tissues, then arteries, then arterioles also shows this amyloid. Okay, deposition of amyloid. They may get involved in these depositions. The glomerular deposits first appear at the matrix and it causes widening of basement membrane. Whenever this amyloid get deposited at the level of matrix, then it causes widening of basement membrane. And this further causes the capillary narrowing. And with the progress, the glomerulus is get flooded with confluent masses of amyloid. Here you can see this glomeruli, it get flooded. What mean by what is meaning of flooded? That is over deposition. Too much of deposition of this glomeruli. Okay, so this glomerulus is get flooded with confluent masses, that is the masses of amyloid. Okay, so this is all about of the amyloidosis of kidney. And when this amyloidosis of kidney occurs, it is a serious condition and it happens mainly related with any chronic disorder, chronic condition. Okay, it may get developed in tuberculosis, it may get developed in leprosy, or glomerulonephritis, polynephritis. Okay, and it later on it get ended with the renal failure. Okay, so at this stage, this amyloidosis, it become irreversible. It become irreversible. Okay, so this whenever the progress of glomeruli occurs, the glomerulus get flooded with the confluent masses, and it happens due to narrowing of the capillaries which supplies. It happens due to the narrowing of the capillaries, and whenever this furthermore it get progresses, it will give rise to the deposits in the glomerular matrix. Okay, so this is all about of amyloidosis of kidney. Then the next organ we are going to discuss is amyloidosis of liver. Amyloidosis of liver. You can see here the liver is enlarged, it becomes heavy, pale and firm. Microscopically, the amyloid is deposited in the space of the I don't know, it is not readable and not understandable. The space between endothelium and the liver cells, and it progressively encroaches on adjacent hepatocytes and sinusoids. Okay, the liver cells here undergo atrophy. There is vascular involvement, and the Kupffer cell deposits, they become frequent. The clinical impact of this deposition, the liver function is preserved in the presence of marked involvement. Okay, so here it gives rise to, whenever this amyloid get deposited in the liver, it gives rise to hepatomegaly. The deposit starts from mid-zone of the lobule and then appears in between the space between sinus endothelium and the liver cell. So the deposits get started with the mid-zone of the lobule, mid part of the lobule. You can understand the lobule, how it is the radially arrangement of the hepatocytes. All of you know the structure of the lobule. So the deposits, they starts from the mid zone of the lobule and then appear the space between sinus endothelium and the liver cell. Afterwards, there is pressure atrophy. And disappearance of this hepatocyte occurs, causing total replacement of large areas and the liver parenchyma. Okay, so here this there are definitely changes occurs with the liver, but still the function of the liver, it is still get preserved, because some of these hepatocytes or some of the lobules of the liver, they are normal. Okay, so whenever it although it may become extensive, but the function of the liver, it is preserved and not get much affected. Okay, so liver also shows the pressure atrophy, and there is disappearance of these hepatocytes, causing total replacement of large areas due to this amyloid deposits, and there is again deposits there with the liver parenchyma. Understood? So this primarily it gives rise to hepatomegaly. Okay, primarily it gives rise to hepatomegaly, but afterwards, like kidneys, this liver also shows pressure atrophy. Okay, due to pressure on the vessels, arteries, so the blood supply get affected, and the because of not having any nutrition or supply, These hepatocytes also get faded from the site of microscope or in that particular structure, disappearance of the hepatocyte. So there may be anoxic damage of the liver may occur with this amyloidosis. Okay. 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 So next we are going to discuss about this next organ, that is heart. Okay. So amyloid depositions of the heart. The heart here, it may get enlarged and it become firm. The heart become enlarged and it become firm. Histologically, the deposits begins in the focal subendocardial accumulations. Here you can see this accumulations, they are subendocardial. Okay, and within the myocardium, between the muscle fibers, it may get deposited within the myocardium, that is between the muscle fibers. Okay, in most of the cases the deposits are separated and widely get distributed. Okay, so here in most of the cases there is dilatation of the cavities due to deposition of this amyloid. The work stress increases on the heart used to work more, and there is later on ultimately there is dilatation of the cavity. Okay, so here due to amyloidosis there may be conductive system get affected, and there are because of subendocardial amyloid deposits. Okay, the conduction system may get damaged only when the deposits deposits are in the subendocardial regions. So in that case, the conduction system get affected, it get damaged, and arrhythmias may get starts with this amyloid deposits. Okay, you can see here the normal heart and you can see the cardiac amyloidosis. Cardiac amyloidosis. Okay. Now, the next organ that we are going to discuss today is about amyloidosis of spleen. Okay, amyloidosis of spleen. Now, the spleen, there is splenomegaly, of course. Here you can read in this particular slide that grossly it often causes moderate or even marked enlargement, that is 200 to 800 grams, from 200 to up to 800 grams. The spleen is firm in consistency and the cut surfaces reveal pale gray and waxy deposits. Microscopically, it is of two patterns of amyloid depositions. In splenic folliculi, they producing Topicana-like granules, that is sago-like granules. We can see here sago-like granules or Topicana-like granules on gross examination in the interstitial peritubular tissues, tubular tissues. And secondly, in splenic sinuses and splenic pulp, this amyloid get deposited in the splenic sinuses and splenic pulp, forming large sheet-like deposits, that is large irregular areas. They get acquainted due to this amyloid, and we called it as lardaceous spleen. Okay, in simple language, there are two patterns. See, in splenomegaly, it always shows of two patterns. The first, the deposits is largely limited to the splenic follicles, producing granules like sago on the surface. granules like sago on the surface. Here you can see little dots you can see here on the surface of the skin. We can see the spleen as a sago spleen. Sabudana. Sago is sago grains. They are nothing but sabudana. So this deposits, they are just looking like this sago grains, granules like sago get deposited in the splenic follicles. So we called it as a sago spleen. And second type, the fusion of early deposits gives rise to large map-like areas, irregular areas of amyloidosis. And this we call it as Lardaceous spleen. Okay. So here you can see the normal spleen in amyloidosis, sago like deposits on the surface of spleen, and here there is Lardaceous spleen. Okay. So this is amyloidosis of spleen. It is of two patterns, sago spleen and Lardaceous spleen. Okay. So here we discussed about this splenic amyloidosis. Here also microscopically the deposits involve the red pulp in the wall of the splenic sinuses, small arteries and the connective tissues. See here this amyloid get deposited. Okay. So the deposition of amyloid in the white pulp of the spleen, the large pink area on the left side of the image consists of amyloid. Okay. So